Hey everyone, good afternoon, good morning, depending on which part of the world you are. Welcome to this 129th edition of Clarity Chat. Today we have with us Udit Pahwa, CIO of Blue Star Limited, India's leading air conditioning and commercial refrigeration company. Hey Udit, welcome to the session. Cheers.
Hey Jagdish, thank you for having me on the session. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Hey, it's so nice to have you on the session, Udit. So a little bit about Udit. Udit was born in Delhi, raised in Navi Mumbai. He's a qualified CA and has completed CS Inter. Udit's career includes roles at Jasubai Media, Global Telesystems, Capgemini Consulting, Oracle Consulting, Polycab Wires, Huhtamaki India, and Kirloskar Group. He's currently serving as the CIO at Blue Star, leading efforts to modernize and transform the technology landscape. So, throughout his career, Udit has developed global technology expertise at Oracle Consulting, serving clients across America, Europe, Africa, and APAC while learning and implementing best practices. His leadership philosophy is embrace global knowledge, adapt locally, and transform challenges into opportunities, being eternally grateful to everyone. And we'll see a lot of examples of transforming challenges into opportunities. We will, as usual, cover the life story, but our focus will be on these four themes: learn global, implement local, learnings from a large scale transformation in 365 days that he did at Bajaj Electricals, pre his CIO roles. It's a very, very exciting story. Global versus local, coming from what he calls as organized chaos at global companies to unorganized chaos at local companies. And there's a powerful case study of large scale low code, no code adoption. Again, that was like converting a challenge into an opportunity. So we will end this chat with a rapid fire round to bring out the personal side of Udit and then a reverse question to me. For now, Udit, before we start talking of serious things, let's get some energy going up. Please share, some one of the most interesting incidents, in your professional life.
Okay. So it was 31st of May 2005. Location was the Gurgaon plant of Maruti. We were about to cut over to the ERP and we realized that we have uploaded a wrong file. So instead of a positive sign, the entire balances of customers were loaded with a negative sign by oversight, and this resulted in the whole dispatches going on hold because every time an order was getting processed, it used to go on credit hold with the negative sign,
Oh,
and we found this out only after close to 70 hours non-stop without sleep in the office. Nobody left until and unless the dispatches started going. So uh, while it was such a simple thing like a positive sign instead of a positive it's a negative sign, the impact was so big that we had the police coming to the plant of Maruti because the container trucks were held up right up to the border of Delhi on both sides of the highway, on the Jaipur highway, and that caused chaos in the entire Gurgaon area. So
wow.
that is one example I remember all. I will remember all my life.
Yeah. I mean, we just take our supply chains for granted and not realizing that, a small glitch can like have trucks lined up, along the road. And I think looking at
Four,
Maruti's volume, that would have been like a big, big,
yeah.
big one.
So we were told that the line of trucks on one side reached up to 4 kilometers, one after the other. It was a massive jam.
Absolutely. And I think
Imagine
that's
with today's volumes, it would be 16 kilometers.
yeah. No, I can now relate to it because, when I joined as CIO in Tata Motors, one of the most fascinating things I came across was the automation that our team had done at material inward gate and at the dispatch gate, uh,
Yeah,
with barcodes and all of that. And then I did some basic math and I realized, oh my God, if you don't do that, you will have, a big queue of trucks right at your doorstep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The basic for just-in-time inventory.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think, this is a lot of times, technology guys look at things from a technology point of view, but the moment you look at it from business point of view, the impact of one wrong action can actually create a massive chaos which can hold up the Delhi traffic. Yeah. Well, I think there are more such interesting things coming up for all of us, and we'll get to know more of it as we go through. But for now, I can see I can see a lot of comments already starting to flow in. So let me acknowledge our audience. So we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary but not sufficient to drive business performance. The guests on Clarity Chat, like Udit, have built the bridge between necessary and sufficient with their art of managing technologies. And Clarity Chat builds that bridge between their learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with technology. So, thank you all for joining us for the last 128 episodes and encouraging us with your interactions and questions. May I request our audience to share their name and where they're joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. I think my audience by now, they know the ritual. So a lot of them have already started saying that I'm joining from here. Let me bring up the most interesting one here. So, hey, thanks, Amrinder, for joining us from Delhi Jaipur NH 48 highway, despite a patchy internet. And so we have Nitin here joining us from Bangalore. Hi, Nitin. We have Manish Gupta. I think, Manish, you're based in Hyderabad, if I'm correct. Greetings, man. Um, Nitin is asking which year. So, Nitin, this was 2005, as Udit mentioned. You have the first reaction. Imagine the ERP transformation of an organization causing traffic issue. Absolutely. And we have another user joining us from UK, Shiva. Hey, thanks, Shiva, for joining us. This must be around 11:30.
Yeah, if
Uh,
that is if that is Shiva Ramakrishna, is an ex-colleague of mine.
okay. Hey, thanks, Shiva, for joining us. And we have, Manish is from Hyderabad, so as I mentioned. Hey, thank you guys. So keep your comments and questions for Udit coming in. Let us start. Let's just start interviewing Udit, and please send in your questions as well. That's the whole idea of having it live and not a recorded session. I don't know, by the way, whether you guys know or not. It puts a lot of pressure on me and Udit not to have any missteps because this is a live session. So Udit, let's start. So please give us an overview of your education, career, companies, roles, and one highlight of each.
Sure. So I started as a commerce graduate, though I wanted to get into the defense services. But I was bereaved early in my school days, so I had to change course and realign. Science in those days was a lot of studies. It's not that it's now, but in those days, filling up journals, practicals, etc. My mother was a science teacher, so I knew how much was the load on study. So I recalibrated. I said, okay, between arts and science, let me choose commerce. I chose commerce, graduated, and the next logical step in commerce was to do chartered accountancy. So I started off. My first job was in a company called Jasubhai Media. For all those who remember, there was a famous magazine called Chip. So I used to work for that magazine. It was the first magazine to come out with a CD-ROM in every issue. That's how it is remembered. And there I was in charge of the finance and accounts as an executive, looking after typically the trial balance, daily posting, audit, etc. And they happened to implement ERP, in-house developed. So that was the first brush with technology. Prior to that, I did 3 years of my articleship with CPS Associates in Andheri. They had a software firm and a very famous brand called as Fact, which unfortunately I think today is not so popular, but in those days it was very popular. That was the initial brush with technology. It was a Clipper and Fox Pro based system. Uh, and After Jasubai, I moved on to join Global Telesystems, and my prior knowledge of these two places where I had a brush with software, they made me the project head for implementing Oracle ERP way back in 1998, 99, and that was the complete touch with technology for me while still being on the domain side. So after a year and a half of implementation and support, yes, Jagdish.
So you joined Global Tele in finance,
Yes,
but
so
you started.
I was yes, so
Uh,
I was in charge of their branch operations and sales MIS because I was good in Excel. So
okay.
budget versus actual those days. Even today, you report it in the spreadsheets, right? so from there, I was relieved of my regular duties, put on the ERP. We went live. I supported for 6 months, but then after support, my position was filled in the regular function. So uh, there was no particular role, and I got the opportunity to step into the world of consulting. That's where I joined Capgemini. Today, what is Capgemini in those days was called Capgemini Ernst and Young India Consulting, which was the merger of Ernst and Young and Capgemini with the fallout of Enron. Uh, Pretty small firm it was, very focused. That's where I got to travel. My travel started with Capgemini. First project was in India for Hutchison Max Telecom, followed by Mattel Toys in the US, for Capgemini Asia Pacific in Singapore, very large implementations. And then I got a call from Oracle Consulting. I moved from Bombay to Bangalore, spent 3 years traveling in and out of India, then moved to Gurgaon. That's where I went into Maruti, and then moved back to Bombay for the rest of my career in consulting. That's where Bajaj happened, which we will speak about, Bajaj Electricals. And then in 2012, I got the opportunity to switch on to the CIO side. My CIO career started with Polycab Wires, which is a public listed company. It was private limited. I spent about 5 years in Polycab setting up the IT department and laying the foundation for their next level of growth. And they are indeed growing very rapidly today, even as we speak. 5 years over there, followed by Huhtamaki, which is a multinational in packaging. I spent 6 years there with a very large challenge of consolidating 12 ERPs in the India operations across 16 plants and bring in a lot of digitization in the methods and processes. Post Huhtamaki, I went to Pune to join the Kirloskar group as the group CIO. I spent about 15 months, and then my friend Suresh Iyer called me and said he's retiring from Blue Star. And since I was commuting up and down to Pune, because my family was in Bombay and I was in Pune, I thought it'll be a homecoming for me. And that's how I moved back to Bombay and joined Blue Star.
So just curious. I mean, one thing that I kind of picked up here is that the Global Tele project, was it done by CG?
No, the Global Telesystems was an in-house project. So Global Telesystems also was an Oracle partner. So they
Ah,
wanted to implement it first in-house and then take it to customers.
no. One thing that I kind of
But
picked up here.
I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from. So the implementation side folks joined Capgemini, and then they started pulling us from the customer side. If
I
that was
just
what the question.
I just had this revelation that Udit has been getting his roles through referrals only. So, and
That's
it's like,
actually true.
you do good work at Global Tele, and then you get called from Capgemini. So the link is made. There are other
Yes.
people joining Capgemini, and then they call you, and then you do some good work there, and you directly join Oracle Consulting. Okay, because you kind of create a name for yourself, and then you worked in that much. I know that you worked in Bajaj Electricals, and the folks that you worked with, they invited you to actually join as CIO of Polycab, because I think
Yeah.
the person moved from Bajaj Electrical to
Yeah.
Polycab, and
So
he was
so
a
the
CIO.
so the director, Mr. R. Ramakrishnan, who was in charge of the five businesses in Bajaj Electricals, joined as the joint managing director in Polycab and the CEO. And he gave me a call one fine afternoon saying, "Why don't you come and meet me? and he told me that he wants me to join in as the CIO at Polycab.
And then getting your current role, being invited by the outgoing CIO.
Yes.
That was a bit of a late
Well,
revelation.
to be honest, while Suresh did reach out, it was somebody from the HR who reached out to me
Okay.
first. And then when they said Blue Star, then I called up Suresh and I said, "What's up with you?" And he said, "No, I'm retiring. I'm hanging up my boots."
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So I think, let me just wrapping up this one. So starting as a finance executive, learning technology internally, joining the finance department, but leading ERP because of that additional learning of technology.
Yeah,
And then, you have no role after 6 months because the position has been filled up. So I'm sure at that point you would have felt a little miserable that, what is this? Like, I implemented and then there's no role. But, that's where I think there's this divine thing that, one road closes and another opens, and then you go and join
absolutely.
consult. And then, like, and after this, I see that connection in the tail that, you keep doing good work and keep getting noticed, and then keep getting your next roles. And just curious that, when you completed the Bajaj Electricals project, did you have any kind of idea that you're going to become CIO one day?
Not really. But yes, after my stint at Bajaj Electricals, I had kept a goal that, when I cross 40, I should be in a CIO role. So it
Awesome.
was one of the milestones that I had kept, which I achieved well before time.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a very important one. To have a goal without really thinking whether you will get there or not.
Yes. So you
So
have an
so
aspirational goal that
yeah,
you keep chasing and you keep pushing yourself to.
yeah. So, this reminds me, when I was a young executive in Tata Motors, I had a sort of mentoring conversation with our, to be CFO that time. And he actually forced me to think. I had a lunch meeting with him, and he said, Jagdish, where do you want to be in 3 years and 5 years? Okay. And I was like, boss, I didn't think about it. He said, okay, we are having lunch, there is time. Why don't you think while eating? And finally, with a red face, I told him that, listen, in 3 years, I'm sort of an individual contributor at that time. I said, in 3 years, I want to lead a large team. And in 5 years, I want to head a department. Okay. And I said it with a lot of embarrassment and red face. And I remember that, I think, by 2000, so that was in 2002 or 2003, 2002. And by 2007, actually, I was an HOD.
Wow, fantastic.
And sometimes you keep a goal yourself, sometimes people force you to keep a goal, but it's important to keep a goal.
No, absolutely. See, even in my case, like you had that mentor you just mentioned. For me, it was, of course, the CEO and Pratap Garge. I'm sure he's a veteran
Right,
in our
that's all.
space, right? I will give due credit to Pratap because it was that 18 months of his mentorship, and even after that, that really helped me shape my career.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think let's now get into, like, your consulting role and global learnings. So you were exposed to a lot of global best practices during your consulting tenure. So tell us a few examples of what you learned in consulting that you were able to apply to the CIO role.
Yeah. So what I got from consulting, the first was plan, plan, and plan. Plan everything. So on day one, you plan for a post go live scenario, irrespective of what is the duration. So in those days, Jagdish, you will remember, technology projects used to range between 9 months to 18 months, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so the consulting gave me the competency and skill to plan for those 18 months and keep a tab and keep revisiting the plan on a periodic cycle. So planning and keeping a tab on the plan versus actual is one skill which I learned throughout the consulting phase of my career, and I have been applying it very very religiously in my CIO career. The second part was, communication and stakeholder management. Being in consulting, it was very necessary to keep all the stakeholders engaged, informed, and updated. This meant keeping regular channels of communication open, regular updates open. So, stakeholder and communication management was the second. And the third and the most important aspect was to treat every member as an important contributor, irrespective of his level, irrespective of his skill. Because there is something that somebody brings onto the table, whatever plus or minus he may have. So these are the
Yeah,
three things I think which I picked up in the consulting career, which I keep applying even in the CIO career.
no, I think absolutely important. I mean, when you're, especially when you're working in a role where you have multiple levels of reporting under you, and then your span of control and span of influence is large. Everyone is looking for direction, and like predictability, and unless you have a good plan, you can't give that. I mean, others cannot plan unless you have a plan, right? And as you rightly said, that we have to keep revisiting, because planning doesn't mean that everything will get executed as per that. And a lot of crisis management is like, when you when you're not as per plan. By the way, like, I had a so there was a, I would say, loosely related story, which again, from an for the audience benefit, I am sharing here. Um, so someone told me, and I kind of went and googled about it. Amazon has a press release process, okay,
Yeah,
which is, it's a one of the seven habits, they say, that begin with an end in mind. And they have kind of formalized the process that, before you start a project, right, you basically, before starting of the project, you write a press release that when this project goes live, how it will be announced to the world, right? So what happened, what outcomes have been achieved, and how the journey has been, how will it impact stakeholders, how will it impact the company, and all of that. And I so much like the process, because it is an actualization of that habit which says begin with the end in mind, right?
correct.
And I think so visualizing and then planning backwards then starts from there. No, so I think
Absolutely.
great takeaways. So, as I mean, just recapping what Udit mentioned, plan, and keep revisiting the plan. Stakeholder management and communication management is absolutely important in any leadership role. A lot of our audience aspire to be in leadership roles, and therefore, it's very important. I mean, technical skills are important, but managing stakeholders and communications is also important. And as you rightly said, treat every member as an important contributor. I think that's like, you got to be people centric. You have to respect people for whatever they are, wherever they are, and and that's what get things done for you. Okay. So, okay. So there's a question from Amarinder. We will come to that. Amarinder, you have worked in both sides of IT companies and CIO role. How does the unified view look? What are the learnings, blind spots for both sides? So let me take that up in advance. Okay. So so I framed that question, slightly differently. And I actually, there's another perspective with it, Amrinder, which I kind of thought about that. So Udit worked in global companies, and with very organized processes and systems, and probably in a slightly different role as a consultant. And then here you start in an Indian entrepreneurial setup, what we might call as Lalaji setup. Okay. So, I think my question to him was that how difficult it was to reconcile the two ends, and how did you manage to get the best of both the worlds? And as Udit calls it, like moving from organized chaos to unorganized chaos. So Udit, over to you. We are advancing this question on Amrinder's request.
Sure, sure. Yeah, Amrinder, hi. So, what advantage do I get, or rather, your question is, what are the learnings from both the side? The unified look helps me get a complete perspective of my side as well as the business partner side, having been in his shoes, right? And having spent a good decade plus in the other shoes, uh, what all are the pitfalls when you start into an engagement is a good foresight for me. And when I get that information from my business partner, I put on the consulting hat and check against my checklist. Is this proper, or are we missing out on something? So that's the unified look. The learnings obviously are, well, for all the OEMs who are listening on this, uh, how to negotiate the terms and conditions of of an engagement is something which consulting has taught very well, which I practice. That's the one. And the other thing is a complete thorough check and eye for detail for all the deliverables. So that's if I look at the unified look, again coming back, documentation, contracts, do's, don'ts, inclusions, exclusions. These are the blind spots that my consulting career has helped me in the CIO career.
No, absolutely. So now coming to the next question, going from organized chaos to unorganized chaos. I mean, working in large Indian companies. I mean, large multinationals, and then coming to Indian companies. So so the question was like, how do you reconcile the two ends? One is very organized, working global scale, etc., and then the other is like, very very, I would say, entrepreneurial and fairly tactical way of working. Managing
Mhm.
crisis, day to day, etc. So how did you manage to get the best of both the worlds?
So again, learnings from the past, I would say. So let me decode what organized and unorganized chaos means. Right?
That would be great.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, in organized chaos, if you had to complain about a leaking water tap in the toilet or poor quality of food in the canteen, you don't send an email. You go to the intranet portal and raise a service ticket. So that is organized chaos. There is chaos, but it is organized, and you have an SOP and a method to go about the chaos, right?
Correct.
And in the unorganized chaos, it's all for you and you for all, right? So wherever you can pull a string, catch hold of someone, etc., and get the work done. So how do you navigate this? So navigating this is to first is understand your circle of influence and the parallel circle of influence, where you can influence and where others influence, right? And marry the two together to get the work done. That is how you navigate unorganized chaos. The other aspect is also to look at what are the stakes for each individual that you are going to interact with. Where does he stand? What does he stand to gain? And what does he stand to lose? And you focus on the gain loss scenario, and then there is a trade off that you can do. But this rule is applicable, I think, irrespective whether you are in organized chaos or unorganized chaos.
I agree. I agree with you. Yeah. And in fact, it's like, in another way, you are saying that this is the game theory. You look at the risk rewards for everybody
Yeah,
involved, and then
absolutely.
the other part. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the good things, I would say, absorbed while working with these global companies? So one of them, you did mention that, very organized and systematic process. Like, you have to raise ticket, you have to go on intranet and do something, right? And then let the process take over. So what are some of the other things?
I think I mentioned previously, it was planning. You
Yeah,
plan for
planning.
everything. Yeah. The other thing that was very important was you document everything. So this is something which, unfortunately, in our country, people circumvent and take a shortcut or don't document stuff. But if you cultivate this habit of documenting everything in the project that you are executing, it helps you remember. It does not stay in your gray matter and your ability to recall. The moment it is put down in a piece of paper and stored in a proper file system, it is available for you in the time of crisis to revisit, or in the time of a handover in the case of any iteration that takes place in the team.
No, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I have a personal experience of this. So we are doing a cross-national project with one of Tata Motors subsidiaries, and so we used to discuss a lot of things, and then we used to figure out that um, that work is happening in a parallel way, and we are discussing in a parallel way, and that was our first, I would say, shock about documentation. That means, our friends overseas, they would look for some sort of a document or communication, some sort of a formality before executing anything. Right? So it's like discussions are discussions, but if you want to get something done, you either send an email, or you send a minutes of meeting or whatever. And I was actually surprised to see that the moment you send a mail that, hey, this is what we discussed and these are the next actions, these are the owners, suddenly those
Yeah,
parallel paths will merge.
the action unfolds. Correct.
The action
Absolutely.
unfolds. You have to put things on paper, and then I have like really taken that learning as well, and this was a learning for my entire team also, because I mean, in Indian sense, it is much more, what you call as the word of mouth, or juban, as you call it.
जुबान की कीमत.
Juban ki कीमत, but that's not how it works. It's fine. So, Udit, now let's come to the most exciting part of our conversation, which is just looking at the clock as well. Yeah, we have a lot of time for that. So, this, I mean, I was really astonished when you told me about the Bajaj Electricals transformation. Large scale enterprise systems, six of them, transforming all of them in just under a year. That, like, immediately, because of the number of moving pieces which are there in any, even in a single transformation. So you have the IT team, you have the business stakeholders, right from the CXO down to the operations level guys that you need to engage. And then you have the partners, which is like not so easy to manage as well. With so many moving pieces, like, how do you, I mean, how was the synergy and harmony between multiple partners and business functions was managed? So give us an insider view, like, take us through the perspectives of CIOs, business leaders, and partners. What were their challenges, and, like, how did it get aligned? Because to me, as I keep thinking about it, it still seems like impossible that you transform six systems in a year.
Yeah,
And give us a little bit of context also, what it was and what got done
sure,
and what sounds got
sure.
there.
So it was April of 2008 uh, when we kicked off on the Bajaj Electricals transformation project, and I was appointed as the project manager from Oracle Consulting. So the six moving parts that you mentioned was implementing the entire suite of ERP from Oracle, a demand forecasting tool which was acquired by Oracle, Siebel CRM, uh, the advanced supply chain planning suite of applications, again from Oracle, the entire BI reporting. In those days, it was, you create the star schema, you have an ETL to feed it, and then you have a visualization layer. So the classical BI and integration to JD Edwards, which was already existing at Bajaj Electricals for their manufacturing operations. And of course, a host of other applications like .NET based applications and their HRMS. So this was the entire landscape. We started the project on 6th of April 2008, and we went live on 5th of April 2009, exactly 364 days.
All of them.
Uh, Everything taken together.
Wow.
We started with a team size of, I think, about 60, which grew at its peak to, I think, about 120 plus. So managing the entire team itself was virtually a full-time task. Your question was, uh, how was this managed and what were the challenges? So the obvious challenge, the first thing was managing this large team and all the interpersonal and personal issues that come out of it, right? Not all folks gel together. So you had people within the team with certain personal issues, across the team with certain personal issues. Uh, so managing all those aspirations and personal issues and navigating through all the discussions, sometimes coaching, sometimes mentoring, sometimes using brute force. It was the typical Sam, Dam, Dand, and Bhed, the four arsenal from Chanakya that we had to put in practice. Uh, Besides that, I will again go back to what I mentioned was the stakeholder management and communication. My day used to begin with 7:30 in the morning with the CIO of Bajaj Electricals, and used to end at 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the night again with the CIO of Bajaj Electrical. So we worked as a team, and if I knew something, it would only be a matter of hours before he would know something, and vice versa. So there was not a drop of miscommunication between us. And there was a third angle. There was a project manager who was from the business. He was a vice president of the fans business, who was relieved of his duty and was made as the project manager for this transformation. So it was a tripartite thinking that we used to have. So communication and planning was again here the key, with everyone given specific areas to look at, with the objective and the directive that the other two should know. It was not physically possible for one person to manage everything. So we did a three-way split, and we told each other that you manage this piece, but you also let me know what the other two are doing, that way. So I think
So there
that
was a
worked
very clear,
very
there
well.
was a there was a very clear cut delineation of responsibility.
In jargon parlance, it is called as the racy matrix.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we had a
Clear.
very well defined racy matrix: who does what, when, where, and how. So in spite of all this planning, in spite of all this, things do go out of hand, and there are passions that go up, tempers flare, etc. We've been there, done that, experienced it. Uh, yeah, but in the end, I think planning, communication, these were the key for execution over there.
Okay. So, give us a little bit of a deeper view into the partners, because I think that's probably the most tricky part to handle, right?
Yeah, so thankfully, we had partnered with Deloitte for this implementation, and I am grateful to all of them, including Deloitte, that again the partnership with them was very cordial, very productive, and all the team members who were from the partners, though they were not in the lead. I mean, they were not. It was principally owned by Oracle Consulting, when Deloitte being a partner. That was the arrangement. But it never felt as if we were three different or four different. Actually, there were more than three. We were about some seven different consulting firms executing this large project. It
Wow.
never felt as if we were from different organizations. So much so that 6 months into the project, when I used to visit the head office of Bajaj in Fort, uh, the the security guard used to write my name in the employee register instead of the visitor register. So he started thinking I am a Bajaj employee. So that was the level of involvement. That was the level of teamwork, where we did not feel that we are from different organizations or different teams.
So you
So
were the
to,
program manager from Oracle, right?
yes.
So I think here you're probably underplaying your hand in terms of in terms of the leadership that you provided to this team across seven different organizations. So tell me some of the things that you did to keep this team together as one team. I'm sure the starting point would have been to go out for frequent team dinners.
Yes. So, going out for lunch, dinner, or a weekend excursion was one part. The other part was putting everybody together into the same accommodation. That worked
Oh,
well for us. We had to put up accommodation because a lot of people were from outstation. So when
Okay.
we looked for accommodation, we put all of them together in the same place, so that you travel together, you stay together, which was also a double-edged sword. If they didn't get on well together, it would be at both the places. But yes, there were a few instances. But you know, again, coming back to the same thing, asking people to be open, speaking up, uh, spotting the Cold War was something that I learned from Pratap. When two
Okay.
people, the way they communicate verbally, reading their body language, etc., I would give due credit to Pratap. To he had the knack of spotting it out, and he used to then tell me, I think we need to work on these two guys, or these a group of these three guys, etc. So team dinners was one, putting the team together was the second, and then we used to have a lot of joint brainstorming. So typically in such large transformations, what happens is you will have an ERP team, you will have a CRM team, you'll have a supply chain team, etc. And you typically end up discussing amongst your team itself. But the process
Yeah.
that we followed over there was we used to put everybody into the room together, and then we used to ask the civil team or the CRM team on ERP issues as well. So what do you think? How can we solve this problem? So we used to get a completely different perspective. I think and they used to feel involved. They used to feel happy that अच्छा मेरे domain के बाहर मुझे पूछ रहे हैं तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. So this was one key thing, is involving all the team members, irrespective of their domain, to kind of give their piece of advice or give their point of view. That worked well to put the diverse 6 7 teams together.
Yeah. No, I actually forced that point on inclusivity because I'm telling you, like, of course, like, with my own experience and with experience of a lot of fellow CIOs. I mean, keeping the flock together, keeping
Yeah.
everyone together, and thinking in the same aligned way. It may come naturally to you, but it's not that natural.
Yes.
So I
Absolutely.
think
Cannot agree more.
these are very, very important ones. So just to kind of wrap up this question with my insights. So six moving parts. Using Sandam Dandabhed, the age-old, tried and tested methodology, provided by Chanakya Samdam Dandabhed. Of course, along with coaching and mentoring the teams, very important again is stakeholder management and communications. So no lapses in communication. Full-time business program manager who had that authority and kind of like the internal, you can say, the channels to get work done. Very well defined RESI, clarity of responsibilities. I think to an extent maybe Oracle directly owning the program, and of course all these tools coming from Oracle did not result in that SI product conflict that sometimes happens. You product guy says the SI didn't implement it right, the SI says the product
Correct.
guy didn't implement it right. So this is something that was like avoided, nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
And then
And just to put on this point, Bajaj had decided to take Sun Solaris hardware, and during
okay.
the project execution, Oracle announced the acquisition of Sun. बोला ये भी हमारे पास आ गया अभी.
Now you have nowhere to go and complain.
This is exactly what the CEO said. This is now in your kitty. Now you cannot say hardware is a problem.
Now you cannot complain. Yeah, but I think, and I would say the most important thing is like keeping the team together across multiple
Yeah.
organizations through a lot of informal means and also formal means where you basically give cross exposure to people about each other's project and also seek ideas. So altogether, I would call it as like very, very inclusive team management, getting everybody involved, keeping treating the team as one,
Yeah.
etc. Right?
There
So
was there was one more point I want to add in that, is that
uh-huh,
we used to keep only a single chain of command. So irrespective of whichever organization you are from, whether you are Bajaj or Oracle, Relied, whatever, there is a defined team leader. You report to that team leader. That also helped, build
very
the camaraderie between all the team members.
no, absolutely, absolutely. So whichever organization you may belong to, but you all report to the same manager. So, Udit, before I pick up my question on low code, no code, let me just browse through the audience comments and then bring some of them here. So we see Naveen joined us from Hyderabad quite some time back. Hey, thanks Naveen for joining. Um, and Yeah, so there's a comment again from I think Shiva, which is sea level by 40 is an outstanding goal to achieve. Yeah, I mean aspiration is more important. Um, okay, so there's another so there's another question for you, Udit, which is what are the primary challenges facing a modern CIO in the age of AI and Gen AI?
This is a question that we get asked every day. Easy question to answer.
You can make it a rapid fire. You can give a two-line answer to this.
Yeah, I think education and expectation of what is AI, Gen AI capable of and delivering is one of the biggest challenges. Not for the CIO. He knows what is the ability, capability to deliver of a Gen AI and AI solution, but the stakeholders primarily. That's the first part. And I think the second part is stemming from the first part is identifying the actual use case which will make a business impact. There are several use cases for Gen AI and AI, people come up with, but will that add to your top line or, improve your bottom line or give you a differentiated business uh, upper edge or USP? Until unless these are addressed, it becomes more of a, an aspirational implementation or a symbolic implementation. So the challenge today is expectation, education, and finding the right use case. Investment is not the issue as such today.
Yeah, yeah. So there's another one coming from Manish here. He's asking, having worked with so many Indian companies as well as global implementation in US and Singapore, do you think true real case studies of business transformation stories come from India? If not, why?
Do I think whether the transformation stories come from India?
Yeah,
Of,
or
of
not.
course,
And if
yeah,
you
of
think
course.
not,
We have no, we have several stories coming out of for transformation coming out of India. I mean, simply, I think the biggest one which everybody talks about, Jagdish, is Asian Paints in the area of supply chain. They are globally recognized, even in the Ivy League schools. They are a case study, right? So that is an absolute transformation. Apart from these, there are several other cases if you pick up of Indian organizations. Definitely, you will find a wealth of use cases for transformation here.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, you mentioned that Bajaj Electrical case study was on Oracle website. So
Yes,
Tata Motors,
yes. So I mean, it with immense pride, I can say that the Bajaj Electrical story featured on the Oracle.com homepage with Bajaj's logo for 1 month post go
wow,
live, as a tribute to the 364-day project. Nobody in the Oracle world believed right up to Redwood Shores that somebody could do this in 364 days.
absolutely, absolutely. Even I couldn't believe.
We only
No,
let it sink in 1 week after go live.
no, absolutely. So there's another question which says, with increased adoption of cloud technologies and reduced on-prem management systems, what's the impact on IT department and CIO functions?
So I don't think there's too much of an impact with cloud technologies and on-prem management today, because even if you adopt cloud technology, if you're not going for 100% SaaS, and if you're going for PaaS or IaaS, you still need to manage it. It will not be physically present under your eye, but it will be virtually in the cloud. So you still need to manage that. Yes, to an extent, it reduces your workload because the underlying hardware is to be managed by someone else. You are managing inside the hardware. So to that extent, it makes it a bit easier for the CIO function. But I would say that easiness also brings, the further capabilities to go to market faster for the IT function. I mean,
Absolutely.
imagine way back in 2005, 10, you order a server and from unpacking to making it available for use used to be anywhere between 10 days to a month, right, Jagdish? Today, all
Yeah,
it
yeah,
takes is maximum 5 to 7 clicks on a console and you have your VM spun up. So
correct,
that
correct,
gives
correct.
an immense agility to the department.
Yeah, yeah, and they can go down as fast. Whereas, like, earlier it would take a lot of corporate approvals to write off those assets.
Correct.
You're a finance guy, you know what I'm talking.
And no more
Yeah,
problem of e-waste.
absolutely, absolutely. So Amarinder recounts this. He says, "OMG, oh my God, I think this was a winning case study for one of CAI initiatives, CIO Association of India, if I'm correct. If I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
my colleague Tapan had titled it as Spirit of Courage uh, on highway, patchy network, and juggling with Google Maps." Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think Amrinder is right. The Bajaj Electricals implementation actually won many accolades. I remember CIO 100 award was given to the project in those days in 2008. And there were several other project awards from the industry which were given for this phenomenal transformation project.
and Udit, guess what? The big man is also here. We have Mr.
Yeah.
Pratap.
Hi, Pratap.
Hi, Pratap sir. So nice to see you here. I was telling Udit when we were having our prep session that you are still on my aspiration list of guests to bring on Clarity Chat. So sir, please await a call from me. And so he makes a very important point, and also complete support from top management was one important factor for
Yeah,
him.
absolutely.
At the end of the day, there are some things which only happen when the instruction goes from the top man's office that get this done.
This
Okay,
needs
and
to
then
be done.
yeah, no more discussions and debates after that. Yeah, it's so nice to have you, Pratap sir, on the session here. So, Udit, coming to my final question, we are like 8 minutes away, and let's see if we can finish. So, you had a great success in adopting low-code platforms, which I think has become commonplace, but you did it like ahead of time. So, tell us about the context, opportunity, and the strategic need, and also the best practices that you found effective in scaling low-code, no-code adoption.
Yeah. So this was 2017 in Huhtamaki. Huhtamaki was, a Lotus Notes shop for the last 27 years. So 27 years of legacy of building applications on Lotus Notes. There was a plethora, there was a sea of applications, I would say. Plus, we were on Lotus Notes for the entire collaboration suite. When IBM introduced in those days the collaboration suite to counter MS Office, it did not do very well, and there were always issues of sound, video not working, etc. So it was decided that we will move from Lotus Notes to Office 365, which meant that we now have to migrate out of Lotus Notes applications as well. And that's when we began scouting for what should be the development platform for all porting all these. And we zeroed in on the low code no code platform for the very simple reason that we had to do it quickly, we had to scale up, and we had to develop it rapidly in an agile way. And the traditional platforms would not allow us to do that, so we moved to the low code no code. And in a matter of 2 years we were able to dish out about 12 or 14 different applications, varied from small to very large. Some of them were capex approval process. None of the ERPs have an approval workflow for capex based on the rules that you want. So either there are emails, excels, or physical files. We digitized them in 2018. Then there was a kappa application that we built, typically known in manufacturing, curative actions, preventive actions for any quality issues that used to come out.
Correct.
That was a very large application that we built, and the largest that we built was, production planning and scheduling. The entire production planning and scheduling application was purpose built in low code no code platform. It was a journey of 7 months that we took to operationalize it and make it suited to purpose. after having 5 failed attempts of implementing package solutions.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes I think the uh, the logic is something that you can only manage in a homegrown application.
Yeah,
So I think this is a great story, Udit. Like, you had this challenge of replacing Lotus Notes, and then taking on that challenge and converting into an opportunity for creating sustainable application on a one platform like Apex.
yeah,
It's a great story, and I think this is what we were talking about, converting challenges into opportunities.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So I think
this opportunity also came with its own challenge, because in those days, getting the skill for a no code, low code platform was itself, the biggest challenge. But we took on that challenge. Uh, we got our young team members interested in adopting that and learning that, and we told them, you learn this for 1 month, you will not be given any task to do, you only have to learn this, and then we will get work done from you. And believe you me, that really paid off. And some of those folks who invested their time, they were all 6 months, 1 year developers. Today some of them are leading the low code no code practices in a lot of SIs, and it makes me so happy to see from where they have reached, a humble beginning as a developer, and today they are the practice head for low code no code platforms in so many SIs.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they were like the first movers, right?
Yes, they got the early mover advantage.
Correct, correct. So I think great conversation of it, and I'm happy that we could pick up a lot of audience questions as well. And thank you for being very concise. I know it's not easy. With my experience, I can tell you, 128 clarity chats behind me, I can tell you it's very difficult to manage time. But you have been really very very concise and very very to the point. So uh, before before we close, we have this fun session of rapid fire and then a reverse question. So let's get there. So,
Yeah.
and guys in the audience, if you have any quick fire questions, any curiosities about Udit, his best movie, best film, but I mean, favorite actress, favorite book, etc. So please go ahead and ask these. Uh, so tell us maybe about some another crisis that you faced.
Yeah, another crisis was one of my team members deleting the entire customer master hours before go live for the implement.
Oh my
This was
God.
my reaction when he came and told me, "Sir, I deleted the entire data by mistake," and I was laughing. And he thought I will fire him. I said, "हो गया अभी हो गया कोई बात नहीं. Let's think about restoring it back. And if we have to defer the go live by a few hours, we'll defer it." So it happened, and I remember it till date. That we took it as a joke, but it happened. So that was fun.
Thankfully, you were able to restore it without much.
Yeah, yeah, we were able to restore it.
Okay, so Shiva has a rapid fire for you. Vada pav versus idli vada sambar. What's the favorite?
Idli vada sambar any day.
Oh my God! I thought being from Mumbai, you would go for the vada pav.
Mumbai also has its fair share of these Udupi restaurants, right?
Udupi restaurant. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. So, what are your views on having a BPR done before process automation? Does business and IT have an appetite for that? So, this is coming from Prabhakar.
Yeah, I think BPR as a concept is good, but given we are living in the age of 20-second reels today, right? So that is the attention span that people have. Uh, but I would say doing this along with the implementation is something. If we traditionally we did as is, then we did 2B, then we did a simulation, then SIT, UAT, so on and so forth, right? Combining everything into and that's where the agile methodology comes in, where you do a prototype, you do the wireframe, go back and say, is this what you want? Is this what you're looking at? And look at continuous improvement in the process. So it's in a way BPR, yes, but in a more to and fro manner right now.
Correct, correct. No, I would agree with you. You know, it's actually like, it's the world of visualization. So you show them, what is
जो
going to
दिखता
come.
है वो बिकता है.
जो दिखता है वो दिखता है. Correct, correct. Okay, so biggest lesson from COVID crisis.
I think valuing relationships is the biggest lesson from COVID crisis, because when you are in a crisis, unprecedented, unknown, unseen crisis like COVID, it's your relationships that pull you through.
Okay. So another contentious question. So spend a long time in one company or change frequently. What's your advice to our audience?
My advice is, as long as you are getting value and you are giving value, there is no need to change. The moment you feel you've stopped learning something new, or when you get up in the morning and you get an answer to the question, do I feel like going to office today, is then when you start thinking. That's
Absolutely.
how that's how I have guided myself and others.
No, no, absolutely. And it's actually like, avoid getting into a comfort zone.
Correct.
So the moment you just take everything around you for granted, that means you're in a comfort zone now.
You're in a comfort zone. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one hobby outside of the work that people may not know.
uh, Reading, I do a lot of reading in all forms, digital, virtual. I still prefer a physical book for the smell of the paper and pages, but reading is something that I keep doing all the time. So that's one hobby that has managed to stay alive. The other hobby was gardening, which is relegated to just a couple of pots for lack of time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I resonate with you on the reading part because I've got a full walled library in my house, which was my
Yeah,
wife's gift to me because she was so fed up with all my cartons of books lying around. She built me a library,
I'm
and
running out
and
of space to store books at home
I,
now.
I- I'm running out of space there. I'm running out of space there. You guessed it. Okay, so this is a question which requires a bit more context, but maybe what is the optimum implementation time for a manufacturing industry? I think he's talking more about ERP.
I think the optimum, there is no standard rule which says what is the optimum time. It's a factor of which industry vertical you are in, and whether it is a flow or discrete, and how complex are the processes, and how ready you are to change and adopt.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think
There are
these will determine your timeline.
yeah, there are lots of ifs and buts, and the more flexible you are, the more simplification you can digest. I think the faster will be the
Ab-
process.
Absolutely, well said.
How do you balance innovation with organizational risk?
So I think in today's world, if you don't innovate, you are anyway at risk. So what I personally believe is, no, that's right, Jagdish.
That's right. Yeah, of course. That's why I'm laughing.
You need to dedicate, I would call it at least half or one FTE who will only do research and development and try and find innovative ways, innovative technologies, innovative processes. That's how you can balance it. I mean, if you're talking from the IT function, keep one person who will just keep looking at how to improve things, what is the new technology, what are the new trends, etc., rather than giving him business as usual work. Keep him occupied with all this.
Yeah, my personal take on this is that you can never completely obviate risk. The only thing is that you can diversify risk. So if you're taking risk, don't take the risk alone. Involve a business
Spread it.
leader as well who will take
Spread the
joint
risk to everyone. Correct.
yeah, spread the risk, and therefore the more you spread the risk, the more mitigation ideas keep coming in. Yeah. So here's the question that I also had, but Swati is asking this: which book can you recommend to audience?
So there is one particular favorite book of mine. It's titled as "Oh Mind, Relax, Please." This is written by Swami Sukhbogananda, who is from Bangalore, and he runs a program called Life Program. And there are several books from Swamiji. Oh, Life Relax Please is another one. So these are the two books which I keep with me, and whenever the mind gets puddled, etc., I open up and start reading it. And as the title says, "Oh, mind relax, please," it has the same effect.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So Swati, I think Swati is also an entrepreneur building a business. So I think she needs this as much as we all. Okay, so maybe we are kind of running out of time with it. So couple of, I still want to take one question, which is like through as you have evolved as a leader, there are certain things that you need to do, and there are certain things you need to stop doing.
Right.
So for a leader to evolve to his potential, what are the three things that they should stop doing?
I think the first thing is stop being technical about everything. Don't think software, hardware, technology. Think business. That is the first point. Second is if you've grown from the ranks, you have to let off micromanagement. You cannot micromanage and succeed at the same time. The third aspect I would say is don't benchmark everybody with your capabilities. Not everyone is the same, so you need to do a complete SWOT analysis of what are the strengths and weaknesses, and not think that if I can do it, why can't he do it? That will, add more agony to the whole equation. So considering everyone with their own strengths and weaknesses is something that an aspiring leader should think about, and then take them along and help them grow.
Awesome, awesome. And any advice to the next generation leaders in our audience?
I think my advice to the next generation of leaders would be whatever you do, please bring passion into what you do, because it's very pertinent and very important to be passionate about what you are doing, and look for positives and solutions rather than pointing out issues and problems. You will always have a mountainous list of issues and problems, but you also need to look at what is the solution and the way out, and what is the positive side. Even if you're facing a problem, there will always be a positive side to look at. So you need to focus on the positives and solutions.
We saw it in that low code no code challenge turning into opportunity. So maybe one last question from the audience, from Amit Upadhyay. What has been your eureka moment, or is it yet to come?
Oh, several eureka moments, I would say, but each eureka moment is unique in its own way. For example, my team member deleting the entire customer master hours before go live of the application was a eureka moment, because we were able to, somehow restore it back overnight and yet ensure that we go live on time. That was one, and there are several such other eureka moments. Obviously,
Awesome.
I did not run out of the bathtub without the towel.
No, I was about to joke that the eureka moment leave you naked as well sometimes. Okay, so we have thankfully we are done with all of our rapid fire questions, including the audience questions. So that I've been grilling you for all this while, so you get to take revenge. So you can ask me one question.
Okay, so let me ask you, what would you prefer, a high-paying routine job, or an average paying but a very challenging job? What will you opt for?
Ah, exactly what I'm doing right now.
I get the answer.
Average paying but challenging opportunity job. I would opt for the later because I think money beyond a point is no longer a motivator, right? I mean, as long as you're doing well, I think then you're really looking for challenges where you can kind of stretch your potential.
Yep.
Sometimes achieve your potential, sometimes stretch your potential. But of course, there is one more thing which I do. If I take up this one, I would definitely negotiate for a share of the returns when that opportunity gets realized.
Yeah. Well said.
So,
Well said.
so that's exactly what I'm doing right now, building a startup, and also, like, by choice, taking up a little less remunerative consulting work because of the optionality that the startup gives me.
So if you have
Awesome.
time for one more question, I can ask you.
Sure, 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 please.
Yeah. So what was that event which, made you change from, okay, I will not be an employee, I will employ myself? What was the event that triggered that thought?
um, so two things. One is that, I think the moment I started getting into these regular leadership roles, from a program leadership to, like, a regular leadership role, I realized that, you know, the so there are two elements of your work, which is one which is real value adding, mentally challenging, which is stretching your potential, right? And the second part of it is administrative, managing political connections, stakeholders, survival tactics, etc., etc. So I think the moment I saw that, the second part is going to go up, right? And somehow I couldn't reconcile that. I actually forecasted it long back. I think sometime before I got the CIO role, when I became the HOT. And I used to tell everybody that especially my wife, I used to tell her, I want to turn entrepreneur at 45 because then I want to be in charge of what I'm doing. But the trigger really came when I saw this happen actually to me, that the value adding part of the role, especially when I was like in my second role in GE, there was a lot more management, administration, handling global stakeholders and all of that. But that intellectual challenge kind of went away,
Yeah.
and that's when I decided that I will, I'll pick up my own challenges of in entrepreneurship, and it has been a fun ride so far.
So you did chase a goal and a
Yeah,
milestone.
absolutely, absolutely.
Good, good to know.
Okay, so guys, I think before we end, like, let me do a quick wrap up of the session. Uh, so about we started with Udit's education, early career. He started as finance, learned technology, and then got into technology. A road closed for him when he lost his role. Somebody else filled it up, but then that opened a completely new opportunity. So I think the takeaway is that, one of the takeaways that one road closes, another opens. So never, I mean, just be keep your optimism on. And the other takeaway there was that, I think do good work and you will get noticed if you do good work, and generate outcomes. And I think his is the story where I think his every next role came out of, like, a sort of reference or a positive word from the previous one. Then we coming to the next question on learning from global best practices during consulting tenure. Plan, manage stakeholders, manage communications, managing technology stuff and your skill related stuff is not sufficient, right? And of course, be people centric, treat everybody as a important team member. Then we had this his very very exciting story about massive transformation at Bajaj Electricals. What we learned was that, while it was a large scale one, I think managing people one at a time using the, STDB as we call it, or, like, whatever it takes, managing stakeholders and communications, absolutely no lapses in communication and planning, having a program manager on board from business side, very well defined RESI, good partner management, and doing a lot of, you know, I would say, soft side of inclusion within a diverse team, and having a single chain of command. A lot of these things kind of brought this together, where six different systems, went live in 364 days. I mean, I still can't believe it, but I think with all that Udit said was done, I'm tending to believe it. Okay. Then coming to this low code no code transformation. There was this Lotus Note challenge that, that technology had to be taken out, and something had to be done about those systems that were done there, and he converted that into an opportunity for bringing in Oracle Apex, and then developing in 1 year, developing 12 to 14 applications, including something which a package tool could not do. And I think there's a people aspect there. getting youngsters to motivated to take that up, and getting them excited, bringing that energy, and again, like, those people are now practice heads, LCNC practice heads in different companies. um, and Yeah, then I think we had a lot of audience questions. We will be kind of doing quick takeaways of those in our in our timestamp post that we do 2 to 3 days after the clarity chat. Uh, but great chat, Udit. I mean, as it always happens, and today especially, didn't realize when that 1 hour went by, and it was such a fun and natural discussion, and with such a great involvement from our audience. So thank you, Udit, for being on the chat, and thank you everyone in the audience for your wonderful engagement, a lot of comments and summarizations, and thank you especially Pratap sir for coming to the chat, and then you know our friend. Amarinder for joining us from the highway while navigating Google Maps. So thank you everyone, and before we say bye, I also want to thank all the people who are watching the recording for looking at that notification and then joining in and watching the recording. And once again, thank you so much, Udit.
Thank you, Jagdish. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone in
Awesome.
the audience.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.